Well, well, well. Matt and Kim finally got around to retiring, did you? It only took you 17 years. For those of you who don't know, 17 years ago or so, uh, our current choir director resigned, and I asked Matt and Kim to stay on for a couple months. And well, here we are 20 years later, almost. And I just have to say, working with Matt and Kim, my favorite day of the week at New Hope was always Tuesday afternoons, because Tuesday afternoons is when I met with Matt and Kim. And during those meetings, I wish there was video footage of those meetings. Um, we sometimes it got a little spicy. Um, Oftentimes, there were a lot of tears. Most of the time, it was just laughter. And I needed that laughter in the midst of what was often very difficult times. And so, one of the first things I wanted to say to you, Matt and Kim, was thank you so much for your loyalty to New Hope. Um, if you had left at any point, it would have been very rough for New Hope. Thank you for your loyalty to me. Um, you never wavered. And if you did waver, then you're great actors as well as great musicians. But I just thank you for that, for your loyalty to me and my family, and for just always being there, always being compassionate, always wondering how I was doing, um, and always being willing to push things and work. Um, a couple of things that came to mind immediately was how often Matt and Kim would come into my office and they would have some new idea and they would say, "Hey, we want to try this or that." And inevitably, I would say, "Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not feeling it." And they would push and they would push. And also, inevitably, 100% of the time, I relented and said, "Sure, let's try it." And 100% of the time, with one exception, um, I was wrong. What's the one exception? Do you have to say it? It was Brass Sundays. Too Coney Island for me. Couldn't get into it. To be fair, though, I pushed for the Plagues, and that really didn't go over too well either. So let's call it a wash and say you guys are batting 1,000. So thank you for that as well. Um, Another thing that came to mind is how often Kim had to interpret for me. Most of you wouldn't know this. Kim would always say Tommy has magic ears. What she meant by that was I could hear when something was off or I could hear when something went right. I just had zero music vocabulary to explain it. And so the way I would explain things to Kim would always be with some analogy or some, you know, some explanation that would make no sense to anyone. And yet, Kim, you always made sense of it. And what's interesting is a few weeks ago, we just hired a new music person at the Mercy, and at Mercy, the guy's 22 years old. He played, and after the service, I said, we really need to work on your tempo for this song and that song, and he's like, well, what exactly do you mean? Does it need to be staccato or does it need to be this or that? And I said, hey, I don't know what it needs to be. I just know you need to put a little more mustard on it. And he he said, okay. Well, the next week he came back. He was perfect. And after the service, he came over to me and he just said, mustard? And I said, exactly. You got it right. So I think I've got the right guy there. Maybe the most interesting thing, speaking of that new music guy, is one of the things Kim used to mock me about. She used to mock me about a lot of things, which I actually appreciate people willing to mock me, um, was my former professor at RTS, Reggie Kidd. And every now and then Kim would say, "Oh, I bet Reggie says this or Reggie says that or Reggie would do it this way." And I took that for what it was worth. But what's interesting now, Matt and Kim, what you guys should take a great sense of vindication in is that guess whose names my new music guy is sick of hearing? Yeah, you. And he'll probably be hearing them for the rest of my time here because your ability and your creativity and just everything about you is unmatched. And so I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I appreciate you. I love you. And I just can't wait to see what God does with you in your lives next. And I look forward to you visiting Spokane now that you have all this time on your hands. Take care. New Hope, thank you for all your support as well.